What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Chief1 got you a little bit. I'm doing something different today. I figured we'd do a settings video. I'm going to go through all my settings for you guys, show you what I actually use and the settings that I use. And for the most part, these settings are about the same as most of the other YouTubers you're going to find online. And that's because I looked at a lot of their settings and I tweaked them to fit my needs and how I play. So it's not 100% exactly like everybody else's, but I figured maybe you were curious, maybe you were having issues with other things that you just need to find out how to change a certain setting. Maybe that's not working for you and you want to see what other people use. So I'm going to show you my settings. So right now we're in the main menu of the beta. This is going to carry over to the main game. We're going down here to more. I don't know if the layout will change very much between the beta and the actual game. And if it does, I might redo this. I don't know. This is what I'm planning on running when the actual vanilla game comes out. So we're going to go into more, and then we're going to go to options, and we're going to start with controls. Under controls, we got basic. Basic, we got starting with vibration. Turn it off. If you're on console, the controller is going to sit here and vibrate probably the entire game because all the explosions and everything else that's going on. It's just annoying. It gets in the way. It's unnecessary. Some people might like it because it lets them know if something's going on around them. If they get hit by a bullet, maybe they don't have a headset. Maybe you're watching TV. I can kind of understand it in that situation, but trust me, a game like Battlefield, just go ahead and get yourself a headset and turn vibration off. Trust me. I turn off first. I didn't even turn them on. The vertical look and the vertical flight. I don't play with those. That's personal preference. Soldier stick sensitivity, also personal preference. I run a 40. I started off with a 50, but it seemed like it was really high. And I'm going to tell you right now, 40 is working very, very good for me. I had some really good gameplays. I'm going to upload hopefully soon if I can get them off of Twitch, because I wasn't recording. I was streaming when I got them, and we're talking like 49 and 6 kind of gameplays. So 40 sensitivity is what I use for that. Vehicle sensitivity is 83. Soldier zoom sensitivity. Now this is how fast your movement is when you're aiming down sight. So if you're aiming down sight and it feels like you're sluggish, you're not moving very fast, try upping it. Okay, it's not a 1-for-1. So 40% zoom sensitivity is not going to be the same as 40% stick sensitivity. Mine's set up at 150. It works really, really good for me. You can toggle this however you want, but you're going to want it somewhere probably between, if you're running a 40%, you're going to want it somewhere between 100 and 150. I think is probably really good. You know, if you run your stick sensitivity up to 100%, you're going to take this all the way up to between 150 and 200 in order for it to be able to aim down sights and still turn and move and look around and stuff like that. So sprint, I'd have it to toggle, just because I'd rather it toggle. You know, when I'm running, I'll just tap it, start running. I don't want to have to hold it down. Double tap forward for sprint is turned off. I don't run that. I don't like doing that. It's unnecessary. Soldier weapon zoom, I hold, obviously. The options are toggle and hold. Vehicle weapon zoom, same thing. Steady scope, hold, same thing. That's your L3 button. And I just hold it down, and that's it. Color scheme, or control schemes, I'm sorry. I run alternate. I like my melee button to be circle. I don't do a lot of meleeing, so I do like to go crouch. And what happens when you're running around, you want to slide. It's just easier. My thumb's already on R3, so I just tap R3 when I'm running, and I'll do a slide or I'll go prone real quick. Most of the time, if I'm going to melee somebody, I have plenty of time to reach up and hit circle. Very rarely do I get a panic melee, and that's just how I play. I don't melee a lot. So I run the alternate, which is and I highly recommend it. Most of your good players and your YouTubers are going to say run the alternate method, so you can crouch and whatnot with your R3 button as opposed to your circle button. And on that note too, you also want to run the higher sensitivities. The higher sensitivity over here in your soldier stick sensitivity, it's going to make you aim a lot quicker. You're going to win a lot more gunfights if you can control the higher sensitivity. Turn it up as high as you can and still be able to control it, but don't crank it all the way up and you're just going to throw yourself off. But 40 is good for me, 20 is good for some people, and then you got guys like the Broken Machine who can run 100% and that's perfectly fine for them. So everything else I keep at default. I did have the air vehicle sticks. The buttons. I had those changed around at first, but I got used to flying the airplanes in Battlefield 1 where my throttle was my left stick, and I wasn't used to the the triggers being throttles. So I switched it back to default. That's just what I run. Everything else is default. So advanced stick aiming acceleration all the way to 0. All right, that's going to give you the best when you're. It won't be laggy. Basically, you're gonna what you do with the joystick to aim is what you're gonna see. It's not gonna be laggy. It's not gonna start off slow and then move fast. Take it to 0. Trust me, you just want it there. Believe me. Pilot control, simplified controls are turned on. Vehicle driver controls or aim relative control, I turned that off. Decouple aiming from turning, however, I have turned on. That's so you can aim the gun without it doing whatever the plane's doing. Passenger controls are on. Uniform soldier aiming, able to use a procedural aim rate instead of these are all. I just kind of went with what other guys were saying. I got used to it, so I turned it on. Set your coefficient to 100%. I can't remember what the default is, but if it's not 100%, go ahead and take it to 100%. Controllers, left stick center dead zone. A lot of guys say between 15 and 20. I like it at 11. It feels good to me. Axial dead zone, 15. I like that setting. That's what works for me. Play around with it. See what works for you. Max input threshold is 100%. And then the same for my right stick. So everything's the same between the left and right. Your max input threshold, this is how far you have to push the button, the trigger, in order for it to do what you want it to do. So if you want to aim down sights fast, like as soon as you start to pull the button, pull the left trigger, you want it set to 5% as max, as far down as you can get it, all the way to, you can't take it to 0, but you can take it all the way down to 5%. Take it to 5%. That means that as soon as you start to press the button, you aim. All right, and the same with the R2. As soon as you press the button, you fire. Now, what happened to me when I first did this was I would start to push the right trigger and I wasn't ready for it, and I would accidentally fire off a round when I wasn't ready to fire off a round. So you got to get used to the sensitivity at that point, because it's going to be super sensitive. You don't have to pull the triggers as far to get to do what you want it to do. Take them all the way down to 5%. Get used to that. You'll appreciate it. Everything else down here, I think these are all default 100%. Down to vehicle sensitivity, which I turned all the way up to 200. I do not like the way the planes fly in Battlefield 5. I have flown them. I mean, they got some work to do. Tank sensitivity is 100. Default turret sensitivity is 100. HMG turret, did turn that down to 80. Fortress turret sensitivity, I cranked that up to 150. And my field gun sensitivity, I turned all the way up to 200. Those things move very slow, so I cranked them. So those are the controls. So moving, we're going to hit circle, go over to gameplay. Over here we got the show the HUD. I like showing the HUD. You can turn it off if you want to, personal preference. I prefer the HUD. Player created content, show or hide all player created content such as emblems, tags, platoons. You can, if you don't like seeing people's, emblems that they draw, the metal appendages or whatnot, you can turn that off so you don't have to see it. Chat log, I have it active only when active, so if somebody calls out for ammo or somebody calls out for meds, it'll pop up and then it'll stay on for a few seconds and then it'll go away, so it's not continuously up there. That's just when active, that's all it is. You hit your options are hide, don't show it at all, and show, so it'll be on all the time. I like it when active. Magnified chat, I turn that off. I don't need magnified chat. Inventory when active. Crosshair visibility, I have it 100%. I want to be able to see my crosshairs. My crosshair color is pink. I know that sounds funny. I use the color pink, but it shows up really well against all the dark backgrounds. So if you're running like a green or black or even sometimes a yellow, depending on how dark the yellow is, you're not going to be able to see your reticle quite as well. So I went with a bright pink color in order to be able to see the reticle better when I'm running around. I want to be able to aim quicker and hit my targets without having to figure out where my reticle's at. So the crosshair color, I have it pink. Kill log, I like having the kill log up there. If you watched my V1 rocket video, I got 7 kills in a tank, and that kill log just hurt Chief 1 all the way up, and I was like, oh, I was so stoked. So I like seeing who killed me, what they killed me with, how many kills did I just get, that kind of thing. Turn the kill log on. I prefer it on. You don't have to. It's personal preference. Kill log filter. Your options are all just your team, just your squad, or just you. So, or nearby. I didn't know nearby was on there, but I put all kill log weapon. I went with the name rather than the icon. You can do icon and name, but it takes up more space up there in that corner. I just went with the name, or you can just go with the icon. So I went with the name because I don't know the names of some of these weapons, and I want to know what they killed me with most of the time. So awards I turn on, vehicle seat info, all this stuff I just leave on. Now, coming down here to hit indicator boxes. This is hit indicator visibility. You want 100% so you can see that you got the hit. Hit color, I go with blue. If I get just a regular hit on somebody, it'll pop up blue. If I get a headshot on somebody, it'll pop up yellow. And once they're dead, it'll pop up red. Red, they're dead. So I use red for the kill, yellow for the hit headshot, and then blue for just a regular body shot. So if I don't see either one of these two, then maybe I can't see the blue because, like I was saying, the backgrounds on these games are very difficult to see some of these colors. So if I don't see either one of these colors, but I hear that indicator that I got a hit marker, it was probably just a regular hit. But the yellow and the red show up really, really well in the backgrounds. Damage-based shape, that's just on. I don't even know. I mean, choose whether the hit indicator changes shape, size based on the damage type. It's on whatever. Armor hit indicator is going to be red. So if anytime I hit armor, texture opacity on the minimap, I have 50%. Rotate with view is on. Flight zoom radius 250. I think those are pretty much defaults, to be honest with you. Now minimap size, I turn my minimap up to 130, and the reason is I like to be able to see more of the area that I'm in. Okay, now you can tap your big center button on your PlayStation. I think it's the on Xbox. I think it's just the icon in the middle. I'm not 100% sure which one it is on the Xbox, but if you tap the big button in the middle of your PlayStation controller, it'll bring up the minimap in a bigger scale so you can see the whole thing. But I don't want to see the whole thing in a small scaled down version, so I turn it to 130%. And what that allows me to do is it zooms more into where I'm at, and if there's people on the minimap, I can see better where they're at around me. So the spotting works a lot better for me with that. So I turn it to 130. Just play with it, find what works for you. It's very much your choice. Show stationary weapons, I leave that on. Everything else here I think is all defaults. Gadget icon, if it's not, I have it at 50. And objective icon opacity, I turn that down to 10%. I don't want it to blind me when I'm over there trying to take an objective. If I'm looking through, it could obscure my view of somebody behind it. So I turn that down to 10%. Advanced. Soldier leaning, I leave that on. I like it. Peek over, I leave it on. Parachute auto deploy, I turn off. However, when you're jumping in, the air assault, I think, they automatically, as soon as you jump out of the airplane, they automatically pull the parachute, and it pisses me off every time, but whatever. So I turn it off because I like to determine when I'm going to open my parachute. Context-based order giving. I think all these are pretty much, all of these are, or these two are defaults. I just leave them on. Aim assist auto rotation I turn off. I do not like aim assist auto rotation. The reason I do not like it is I call it aim resist. If there's two enemies on the map and I'm trying to target one in particular, and I pull the left trigger to aim down my sights, inevitably the gun's going to want to go to the next guy. He may be a little closer, so the aim assist is pulling to him more, but it's not the guy that I want to shoot because maybe he's not actually looking at me. The other guy might be. I've died so many times because I wanted to shoot one guy and the gun pulled to look at another guy. So I just turn it off. No aim assist for me. I do not run aim assist whatsoever other than slow down. The slowdown does help you when you're aiming, but aim assist I turn off. I recommend you highly learn how to use it without it. Play the game without aim assist. You will thank me, especially if you get into those situations like I was just explaining. Reload hint I leave on because there are times where I forget and it tells me, hey, idiot, reload hint system. I turn it off. I don't need it telling me every 5 seconds to, if you want to heal yourself, push up on the D-pad. So I turn it off. It's annoying. It just gets in the way. Network graph performance, I turn that off. It's a huge graph that just sits there in the middle of the screen on the right hand side showing you what's, the pings and all this other shit that you don't really need to see. Just turn it off. If you are having problems that you need to send to EA or DICE, turn it on, record it, and then turn it back off. You don't want it, trust me. Aim lead indicator I leave on. All that does is it tells you Basically, if your ping is high, indicates if your ping to the server is high, like you have a 100 plus, 200. Some people I've seen have 300 to 400. If it's high, it'll tell you need to aim a little farther forward to compensate for the lag. And so I leave it on. I've really never seen it really work that well for me anyway. I've just kind of gotten used to playing against people who have really high pings, or when I'm running really high ping. Alright, so that's gameplay. Now let's real quick look at audio. My master volume, I leave it 75. I don't like it super duper loud. I just keep it around 75. You can, that's a, personal preference. Increase it, decrease it, whatever you want. Music, I leave it 25%. I don't like it super loud, but I do like having it. If you're sitting in the menu, it's kind of boring just sitting there staring at the screen, kind of like you're doing right now. So I turn it down to 25% and just leave it there. Headphone audio, I have it on 3D. I've been kind of playing around with that. Find the one that works best for you, but there's plenty of options. You got war tapes, which I'm not gonna, no. Small speakers, no. Medium speakers, not really. Large speakers, maybe. Headphones for sure. I would definitely use that one. And then audio for headphones, I think this is a 3D one, which is the one that I actually use. So that's the one I'm using currently. In-game announcer, I do leave on. Native to my language, I guess is what that is. So I'll leave it at native. Didn't really explain one way or the other. You can play with that however you want to do it. And these are just automatically set on. I turn on my subtitles because when you're playing in the campaign, I like to be able to read if I'm, other people might want to read it too if they're watching the gameplay or whatnot. Text size normal. You got options there, but I leave it at normal. So that's audio, real quick. Video, brightness, I like it at 60%. I'm actually thinking about turning it up to 70%. Actually, I'm going to do that because the game is very dark in certain areas. There are people have been hiding in corners. I'll look in the corner and still won't see them. So you might want to play with that. Turn it up to around, I'd say anywhere from 60 to 80. I probably wouldn't go over 80 because then everything starts to get blown out because it does get bright. And in the bright areas it's too bright, in the dark areas it's too dark. That's a problem with the game that DICE needs to figure out. 60 to 70 for me is perfect for my eyes. Just go with what you feel more comfortable with. Field of view, 90%. That's just when you're, it's how much you can see. It's basically like your peripheral, I guess. And then so I keep it around 90. 90 works really well for me. You go too far out, it can throw off your aim. Come too close, it could throw off your aim, and you won't see much around you. So I keep it at 90%. Vehicle field of view 111. I just crank it all the way up. ADS field of view I leave on. Motion blur, turn it off. Turn it off. You get grenades and explosions and bombs and V1 rockets and everything else going around you. You do not want all that motion blur throwing off your aim. The immersiveness of the game, that could be realistically feeling. If you like that sort of stuff, cool, do what you want. Turn it up if you want to, but trust me, do yourself a favor, turn motion blur all the way down. All the way down. Weapon DOF I turn off. All this stuff I turn off. It'll help you. And I do leave this on Tritanopia. I guess it actually makes the colors a little brighter. The greens, the blues, and all that stuff. So I leave that on that. You can change it though. I'm not colorblind, but I do like that color setup for it. So it just makes them brighter. But that is it, guys. That is the settings that I use. This video was a little bit longer. Hopefully it helps you guys out. Please play with the settings. Trust me, you'll thank me if you turn off your aim assist, increase your sensitivity, get used to it. Then now's the time with the beta before the game actually comes out. Now is the time to get used to those higher settings. And that way when the game comes out, you'll be ready to go, and then try those settings in Battlefield 1. I mean, you can really, get used to it in Battlefield 1 and then they'll carry over to Battlefield 5 for the most part. But that's it, guys. Hope you enjoyed the game, or the gameplay. I hope you enjoyed the settings video, and I will talk to you guys later. It's Chief 1. I am out.